Hello, everyone. Good morning. As we're starting to come in, we're a few minutes away from starting here, so we'll just let everyone get settled in. We're really excited for today. If you're coming into the chat, why don't you let us know where you are logging on from? I know we've got quite a few people here from all over the globe, so we'd love to know what country, what city you're representing today. Just throw some messages in the chat for us. All right, coming in from Poland. Sorry, Bastien. No guitars in this space just yet. Quebec. Welcome. Coming in from Germany. Toronto. The Philippines. Awesome. I'm in Nova Scotia right now, if anyone was curious. Used to live inside of Toronto. Awesome. Yeah, keep telling us where you're from as you're coming in, getting comfortable. And I'd love to know, we're kicking everything off with a panel discussion today. I'd love to know what you are most looking forward to getting out of today. We've got lots of great sessions from great experts in Asana and productivity. We'd love to hear why you here. What are you looking to get out of the day? East Hampton, awesome. A couple minutes and then we'll get going. Bastien, I'll be sure to get the guitars up sometime next week. Got to have them in view. They're a great conversation starter. That's for sure. All right, our leaderboard is already kicking off. I'll talk more about this. Joshua Zerkel coming in at 125 points already. All right. That feels like a good place. People will start coming in as we go. So let's actually get started. So I want to say hello and welcome to Asanathon. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Marquis Murray. I am a business process consultant and the founder of MMG. We are a consultancy focused on making businesses and teams work more efficiently and effectively by optimizing how they use tools like Asana. And so that's why we're all here today. This event for me honestly feels like a dream come true. It's been a goal, a long time goal of mine to host this event. And I still remember the day when I told my team about it and what it could look like. It just started as an Asana task. And now we're here. You're all here with us. And we are so excited for a jam-packed day. And so we did this because I wanted to create a space where ops professionals and productivity seekers from different industries and proficiency levels could really come together and learn and grow. And so I'm incredibly grateful to you all for being here and to our speakers for being here today and giving of their time and sharing their expertise. This event is sponsored by the System Builder Academy, SBA for short, which is an online community where people with shared interests in operations, process optimization, and tools like Asana can share ideas, ask questions with other like-minded professionals. And I also want to mention our Asana Together community, which is the official channel for ambassadors and Asana enthusiasts. And thank you to all the folks from Team Asana and from the Asana Together community who are here today with us. So why are we here? We have an incredible day lined up for you. I'm so excited for this. I got up super early just to like prep and make sure everything was in its place. But we want to ask you to just get ready to engage today. Get ready to learn, from some of the brightest minds in the industry and people that have come to call friends. We have names like Joshua Zerkel, Paul Miners, Kerry Hoffman, Bastien Siebman, and Nadia Martinez. And so they'll all be sharing their expertise, best practices, and advice really to help you redefine the way that you work. And so again, we'll have a panel discussion shortly and then breakout sessions later. But it's not just about us on this virtual stage today. Asanathon is really about you, the business leaders, innovators, and the change makers. And so whether you're an Asana beginner looking to really learn the ropes or a seasoned expert aiming to, push your own boundaries, we have crafted these sessions and Asana demos with you in mind. And so take full advantage of it, engage today, participate, and we hope that you get what you came for. So just a few housekeeping things before we dive in today. I'll touch on a few of the things that really can help make this a great experience throughout the event. We want to make sure everyone has a really good time today. So when you came in here, you have noticed that there is the event that you're in right now, but there's also a social lounge. So before each session, you can get in there, you can meet new people, you can network. And once our sessions begin, you won't have access to the social lounge anymore. But in between sessions, feel free to jump in there, meet new people, ask questions. You could meet your next partner, customer, vendor, supplier, who knows, within the social lounge. So make sure you check that out in between our sessions. Again, the panel discussion will be in a few minutes, and then there'll be a break right after this session for speed networking. So again, go to the social lounge, find a table, get in there, chat with some other folks, and get to know them a little bit. And so this is where you'll be able to connect with other attendees and really see where everyone's at. Last point here on just participation. We want today to be really interactive. And so you'll notice there is a leaderboard on the right side of your screen. And so every time you attend a session, ask a question, raise your hand, or even view the sponsors links, you'll be racking up points. And then the top 3 participants will all be taking home free Asana templates, including an onboarding template, a social media content calendar, and even a 60-minute consultation with myself. And so it's really just our small way of saying thank you for being here today and thank you for engaging. And also, I want you to check out the menu on the right side of the screen. There you'll see there's a public chat where you can engage with other participants. You can share your thoughts around the sessions. If you do have a question, though, please use the Q&A function there instead of the general chat. We want you to be able to ask your questions. And attendees, as you're following along, if there's a question that you see there that you also want to ask, just upvote that question, and then our moderators today will help us get those questions to the speakers. And yes, you will get points for doing that as well. There's also a poll feature. We can participate and join in on the discussion by voting yes or no to our questions. And if you need any help, any tech support, something's not working, in the bottom right corner of your screen, there is a purple question mark where the AirMeet team, that's the platform we're hosting this event on today, the AirMeet team will be able to help you. They've recommended for best experience to use a Chrome browser on your computer. And if that's not working, a quick restart always does the trick. And so your participation, your questions, and interactions are what will make this event come alive today. So don't hesitate to jump in, get involved, and really participate today. So let's go. Now, what I want to do without further ado, I know that was a lot, but thank you for sitting through that. It's time to officially launch Asanathon 2023. We're kicking off with a panel discussion with some of the best in the industry. Again, people that I've called friends, become colleagues over the years as well. So grab your coffee, find a comfy spot, and get ready to learn and grow. And so in a second, I'll be handing it over to our speakers to introduce themselves and get into today's questions. And so speakers, I'm going to start with, in no particular order, Joshua Zerkel, if you can just introduce yourself to the attendees today.
Thanks, Marky. Hello, Asanathon. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Joshua Zerkel. I lead global engagement marketing at Asana, which means I lead the community program, which includes many of the fine folks who are here on the panel with me today. I am based in San Francisco. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Kerry, let's go to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Kerry Hoffman. I'm an independent project manager and Asana consultant. I recently struck out on my own just this year. So I've worked with about 12 clients and mostly in Asana, which is great. Usually I am dialing in from Brooklyn, New York. But right now I am at an Airbnb in East Hampton. So those surfboards you see behind me are not mine, but while Marquis was getting ready this morning, I might have gone surfing this morning before we dialed in today.
That's how you got to do it. Good for you. Nadia, let's go to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nadia Martinez. I am considered an Asana specialist. I actually work very closely with Marquis. I help him with part of his MMG business consulting. So just really excited to be here to talk more about Asana. And yeah.
Awesome. Good to have you here, Nadia. And Bastien, not to leave you last, but why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, so my name is Bastien. I'm based in France. I have been using Asana for about 10 years now, I think. I'm now a solutions partner, which means I can do some consulting for you with my team. I can also sell Asana licenses, and I organized my wedding with Asana if people want to talk about this. And my wife is back in Asana with me. It's amazing.
Incredible. I'd love to talk about that at some point. And Bastien, I'm going to apologize again for your pronunciation of your last name. Quick funny story. Bastien was a guest on my podcast in the early days, and I tried so hard to pronounce it, and he called me out at the start of the podcast and said that was the most horrible pronunciation of my last name I've ever heard. And I still haven't gotten it, so I apologize. But thanks for your grace. Thanks for being here today. So the first question, I'm going to throw it at you, Joshua. I'm going to start us off really light as people are still coming in here. Would love to just get your perspective on, remote work. It's becoming more common in the workspace today. Even, post-COVID, we're having a lot of people go back to the office and we're in this hybrid state. So, how do you see Asana supporting teams to ensure high productivity and collaboration in this new remote landscape?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Definitely starting off light. So hybrid work, remote work, all of this is, if we're thinking about the time scale of how long people have been working, this is still super new. To be honest, I think we're all still figuring this out. We saw just yesterday, there was news from Zoom of all companies that are requiring people to go back to the office. So this is still currently being shaped. None of us have the answer. What I can say is that maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I work at Asana. We use Asana for everything. And during the pandemic, my team grew exponentially, as the entire Asana team did. And I myself have reports sitting across 6 different offices. And so whether they're in an office or not actually doesn't matter to me. All of us are working in a distributed way anyway. And so for me, what I've seen and what I've seen with the people, 15,000 ambassadors who are part of our community, nearly 500,000 people are part of our forum. What people say is that regardless of where people are located, Asana is helping them connect the dots across their team for all of their work. And for me, I actually don't know how I would do the work that I do without having Asana or a tool like it to support me as part of my workflow. Work is really complicated. And when you have a team that's distributed, whether it's remote by design or remote because you have people in multiple offices, there's a lot of coordination of work that needs to happen. And having Asana as the backbone of my own team's work has let us achieve so much together. So I think this world of remote work, hybrid work, in office, office-centric hybrid, whatever your team is doing, just know that we're not done. None of us are done figuring it out. We're still all learning this as we go. And I think it's important to find the tools, solutions, processes, and systems that can help support you and your team in your work. Hopefully Asana is one of them. I'm guessing if you're here on Asanathon, you think that it is, and I'm glad for that. But know that the world of work is changing constantly around us, and we don't yet know where it's going to go.
Bastien's similar question, but in this case, and thank you, Joshua, for that. What have you heard to be the output or the outcome of teams going remote? I know your team is fully remote, but with you delivering to your customers, for example, are they seeing Asana as that tool that is helping them improve collaboration in this remote landscape? And what are some of the common problems that you see when you're approaching those questions?
I think the problems we see very often are not related to remote per se. I think people are just completely lost. And even if they work in the same offices, they often rely on email and Excel spreadsheet anyway. So I think remote has just accelerated the problems they had because they can't go and see each other. But all of those problems were there already. And funny enough, my entire career has been done remotely. I never worked in an office. I just don't know what that is. And also, I always used Asana as well. I never used email. But from what I'm seeing, it's really hard to get anything done by using emails.
Kerry, any thoughts from you? I know you've been on the corporate side, and you mentioned that you've just branched out on your own. What are you seeing as some of the biggest challenges that businesses face when implementing a tool like Asana, especially in this remote landscape, and how do you help them overcome them?
The challenge that I'm seeing and why people are coming to me, it's a good problem to have, is that I work with some companies that they were already using Asana, right? Either before the pandemic or in the early days. And it's as if they were living in an apartment and moved into a big house and they started using it way more and then realized, oh no, it's about to get real messy all up in our Asana. And we need someone to come in and put us on the right path to make sure that we have built this tool out in the way that makes the most sense, right? Because I think one of the great things about Asana is that it's very user-friendly and it's pretty easy to adopt. And so then so many people start adopting it and someone says, all right, let's pump the brakes and let's find, a more singular way of working, right? And that's kind of a big shift moving into hybrid and remote. When you were in the office, you were just in the office and communicating in the office. Now we need to say, if we're not all in the office, how do we work together in one way if you're in the office and I'm at home and you're in France? And so that's what we're trying to get companies to. What does that look like? And it's different for every company.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things that I see quite often is, when we're evaluating a tool like Asana, we're trying to understand as a team, is this the right tool for us? But we're using multiple tools, in different ways. We're using Slack, we're using Asana, we're using Trello, we're using Sheets, we're using Excel, and all of these different, tools all over the place. And then we introduce a tool like Asana and we say, this is the one we're going to use. Do you feel that teams are at a point right now where they've seen like so many changes in how we work and the tools we use that they almost have tool fatigue? And, maybe they're saying to themselves, why would I invest time in this one? It's just going to be another one we're going to add to the pile. How do you answer that question, Kerry? And then I'll go to Nadia. How do you answer that question of, Asana being the central tool to answer the question and really consolidate your full tool stack?
Well, I always start by telling people, right, that there's no kind of magic tool, because I have faced that with some companies that say, is this the tool that does all of the things? And, build out your kitchen. There's not one appliance that's going to do all of the work. And so what I really focus on with teams is I say, look, you're going to have a few different tools, and that's fine. What we need to figure out is what is each tool's purpose, right? What is its persona? What is it going to do for you? And we need to commit to that. So is Google Calendar for meeting invites only? Great. Let's not throw reminders on there or placeholders. Let's put those in Asana. Is Slack for just conversations back and forth? Then that's its purpose, right? And then Asana is for the project purpose. But what really, I would say, paralyzes people is this feeling of, okay, I have a new update. Where do you want me to put it now? Am I supposed to put it in Asana and in the sheet and send a Slack and then send an email and then walk to your desk and tell you about it? That is a challenge. So the first step is saying, how do we want to use each tool? What is its main function?
Awesome. I love that. And Nadia, for you, like in a similar strain, I mean, we have all these tools and they have different, uses and specific use cases. How would you, make important the point or drive home the point of using Asana as one tool and then possibly integrating with other tools? Where do we really draw the line? Maybe you can share on some of those, common integrations that you would see that do increase productivity and efficiency.
To piggyback off of like what Kerry said, I think it's important to have like the streamlined, hey, this is what we're going to use for this kind of service, and this platform is going to utilize this. A lot of the things that we do is we implement a lot of Asana status updates, things like that, triggering things in Slack, right? That's beautiful. That streamlines a process of, to Kerry's point, when you have an update, what do you do? Well, if you use Asana and another tool like Slack or Teams, once you make the change in the system, it already does that, right? Same thing with Asana now, how we can attach like the Dropbox and the links. Like now you have the opportunity and ability to link everything to the source, right? A lot of the things that we deal with is people have so many iterations with anything that they're doing that what ends up happening is there's a PDF, there's an email, there's a chat channel. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows the newest one. Now you have this tool where you can immediately just, instead of dropping a PDF, you can say, okay, hey, I'm going to share the specific Dropbox folder or the specific drive, and everyone will always have the most current, available point of truth. So I think that's what we've seen in ways that I implement Asana with my clients is, hey, these are things that will allow you to work smarter, not harder.
I love that. Thank you so much. And so, Bastien, I'm going to go over to you for this next question. I know you probably have lots to say on this as a developer yourself. You've developed a lot of apps for the Asana platform. You give away a lot of your tools online as well that people can use with Asana. But when it comes to where Asana is going, I'd love to hear from you what you feel to be some of the low-hanging fruits or missing features, or maybe even predictions. Let's actually go that route. Let's talk about predictions of where you think, and then Joshua, I'm coming to you. Predictions of where you think the tool can go, because we have people like Phil Siebman at Flowsana who's developed a suite of incredible tools to help automate. And I know when I was starting out, there were a lot of things that Asana couldn't do that, Phil's tool could do. And now Asana is, implementing those. And so love to hear what your predictions are and where you think we can really capitalize on this integration and, no code, low code integrations for a lot of the solutions that we're now deploying.
I think I'm going to surprise you here. I don't care about the roadmap, and I wish people wouldn't care about the roadmap, but instead would look at what's existing within the tool. I want people to use My Tasks. I want people to use Inbox. I don't want people to look at no code, AI, and stuff like this as a solution to anything. Most people are not using the tool correctly. They're not being trained correctly. And the most basic features, if they were being used correctly, would provide an immense gain, an immense benefit in terms of productivity. If you're using My Task properly, it's amazing. It changes your life completely. So you do not need AI to tell you what to do. You need to be trained properly to use what's existing. Once you reach that level of proficiency, yes, you can start looking at no code, automation, AI, and stuff like this. But I think first you have to focus on the core features within the tool. Sorry to disappoint.
No, that's okay. You did surprise me. That is true. But yeah, definitely not disappointed. And would it be a conference in 2023 without talking about AI? Of course not. Joshua, I'm going to go over to you. From the Asana perspective, I mean, you know the roadmap. You work with people in the community to promote Asana through the Ambassador and Asana Together program. What are your thoughts on some of those low-hanging fruits or, predictions of where you feel Asana to be going without giving us too much information, of course?
Sure. So it's interesting, actually, Bastien, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of features that are already there that if only people use them, it would actually be quite transformative for them. So some of the things that we're thinking about at Asana are how do we make it simpler, easier, faster for people to understand these core essentials for how to use Asana in the way that's most effective for them. Because there's no right or wrong way to use Asana, but there is the discovery process, especially for individuals, on how do I fit this into my workflow? How do I personally get onboarded along with my team to make Asana more effective for me? Some of that may come in the form of AI assistive features, and some of it will be better instruction, changes to the UI to make things simpler when you're just getting started. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there for people to really understand like the core concepts of what is work management. I think for those of us that are in the Asana ecosystem, like everyone here in the panel and likely everyone who is in attendance, we understand how Asana fits in, where most people, frankly, don't. They're used to managing their work, however extent they're able to do it via email and Excel or some combination of these different tools that they're trying to piece together. But the concept of a tool to pull it all together is frankly new for most people. So work management in general is something that Asana is actively thinking about. How do we help people understand this? How do we help people figure out how and where this fits into their workflow? In addition to the features to me are like the icing, but the cake is really how do we help people get the concept of work management and help them understand how it can actually really serve them and serve their teams in reaching their goals.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, the cake and the icing, right? Like the features are, I think, those shiny objects. And right, sometimes we get into this comparison where it's like, oh, this tool can do that and has this laundry list of things. But when it comes down to it, when we're coming in and any of us are engaging with our customers, it's okay, tell me about the process. Right, Bastien, years ago when you were on the podcast, you said, tell me about the steps. How many steps? Are there any approvals? How many approvals? Like, what does the process look like? I think that's what it comes down to, because then it doesn't really matter what, onboard features the tool has. It's just about how do we work. And I love how we're answering these questions, right? Just keep it simple. Use my tasks, use inbox, set up your Asana properly, set up that structure. And so thanks for your takes on that. Kerry, Nadia, any thoughts from you before we go to the next question?
Yeah, I was just thinking, something I kind of have to get over a hurdle with clients or help clients get over that hurdle is explaining that Asana itself isn't a process, right? It is a tool that helps you manage your processes. And so when people say, oh, we don't have a process in place, we're looking at Asana, we're looking at Trello. And I'm like, let's look at a whiteboard maybe, and let's figure out what your process is, right? And then we can integrate a tool to help manage that process, right? And so people so quickly they jump to the tool solves the problem. And I'm like, but you actually haven't identified the problem, right? It's like, oh, I want to get in shape. I'm going to buy this exercise bike. It's like, that's not necessarily going to solve the problem. We need to dig to what are you actually trying to achieve and what tool can help you achieve that. And I do believe that Asana can help you solve all of those problems. You just need to identify what they are first before you start like setting up your first project and then getting frustrated by it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks so much for that. And I think we're seeing a little bit of that now. I mean, we've been talking about AI just a little bit. Maybe we'll go down that road and discuss it a little bit. But Asana's recently rolled out the AI feature, and it's still evolving day to day. But I was in there the other day, and I clicked on the customize button because I was going to add a custom field, and a little message popped up right where the custom field addition was. It says, hey, your team has done this process 3 times in the last 7 days. Maybe create a rule for it. And it was suggesting now, based on how we're actually using Asana, to create a rule. So for me as a consultant, it's like, that's fantastic, because a lot of the simple setup, day-to-day, how do you build a workflow? What is a workflow? How can we work more efficiently? A lot of the questions we're getting from our customers are answered right in the tool. And so I love the stance that Asana is taking there. And so I'd love to hear from you, like, what are your thoughts on the integration with AI and the platform? There are some people that say that the AI that we have today is not even true AI. It's not true generative AI, right? And to further, expand and provide some more context, when Asana released their PR information on AI, they straight up said, hey, this is not going to do everything for you. It's not going to think for you. It's not going to do this. And I love that. It said this is going to assist you, right, in working better. It's going to provide prompts and questions and get you to think about how you can improve your workflow so that you can work smarter. So I'll leave this one open to anyone. If you just want to jump in, what are your thoughts on this stance that Asana is taking with AI? And what are your thoughts around how businesses can really use it to better how they work?
Yeah, to me, I think it's a natural next step to actually include AI within the tool. But the thing is, the thing we see on a daily basis when we work with clients is that most projects are really messy. Most tasks are not named or defined properly. So I think in that case, AI doesn't have any impact. It cannot understand what you're doing. So the first step is to teach people how to create a project properly, how to structure, how to name a task. And once everything is kind of clean, then I think on top of this, you can build and have some AI help you with your daily stuff. Just to go back on what you said at the top of the customized menu, what's amazing is how we don't see those things anymore. We're so used to using tools and having all those pop-ups everywhere, you just don't see it. And I've done entire workshops with clients and they have that purple thing showing up and they just don't read. And the answer is there. So it's a real challenge for Asana to be able to help you, while at the same time, you just don't see all of those things popping up on the screen anymore.
Interesting. Joshua, I'm going to go to you for this one. So what are your thoughts here? I mean, we're seeing AI where it is right now as it's integrated with Asana as a way that we can see and provide more insights into our projects, into the status of things. It can look at, unresolved tasks and incomplete tasks and overdue and provide, more, detailed information so we can make data informed decisions. What was the goal here with introducing AI? Was it to be that assistant that would help us dig it a little bit deeper? Was it to direct us in the way of, making recommendations? Was it to help teams, use a tool better? Obviously it was, but can you share anything around what the goal here really was and maybe what the next evolution will look like?
Yeah, I'll say this. So, as with all things, like we're really just getting started with AI here at Asana, as I think every single company that has integrated AI into their tool in the past 6 months also is. Anyone who's telling you different is probably lying. So, I think what you're seeing now is our first iteration of what we think will be helpful to people. Our entire ethos around AI with Asana is how can it be supportive and helpful in your work? It's super human centric. We're not trying to take away your work. We're not trying to take anything away from you other than the busy work that you find boring anyway. So we're trying to be supportive in your workflow and look for the areas where if we can suggest custom fields for you, or if we can help you draft your task description, like these are the things that the work has to be done anyway, but we can help support you with some of these pieces. As we continue to build out AI in Asana, it's really meant to be an assistant, not to take over the work. And so I would look for more features to come that are in that vein of we have your tasks that are in Asana. We can make sense of some of the things that you have in there. How can we put those pieces together in a way that supports you and your team?
I love that.
Super human centric is how we're approaching it.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that. I love that we're thinking about the people because that's where my mind always goes. I've interviewed several guests now who, are self-proclaimed or, just have more experience, in this world of AI and have maybe done the research, who have, kind of talked about the problem we're experiencing where people are now fearful, like, are we going to lose our jobs? And I always think about that person that if these tools are just going to do everything for us, we're eliminating, a part of the workforce. And like, that's always like a big concern for me because I was thinking about the person, the real person who shows up every day, wants to do their best job, and now is being replaced by a machine. So I love that we're not going that way.
Yeah, even when we talk about it internally, it's human plus AI, not human or AI, and certainly not AI over human for the Asana ethos. And we're very fortunate here. Like our CEO Dustin was one of the investors in OpenAI. He's been thinking about this for a very long time. And his whole ethos is very human-centric anyway. That's been our approach at Asana all along. And so this is, I would say, an added layer to that. And how do we actually be assistive in the product, in the tool itself, in a way that feels helpful and not intrusive?
Mm. I'd love to just hear from Kerry or Nadia on this, but I think, you know, where this could go, and if we could share a couple of things that we think it could assist us with, is I would love to go into Asana and just type out, you know, what is the status of the projects in so and so portfolio, and then it generates my status report for me. Or maybe it builds like a universal report dashboard because I want to see A, B, C, D, E, F, G parameters, and it pulls those together for me, and then it updates, right? Because I think a lot of the reasons why people get stuck in the tool, from what I've seen, is they don't have the expertise or the experience, or they feel intimidated by, you know, trying to build it out themselves. So to have an assistant who can then take it a step further and help them dig down, I think would be, you know, a really welcome change. So Nadia, Kerry, any thoughts on, you know, what you think, you know, how it could help us in the future?
I'm keeping it simple now. You know, if it just helps people write task descriptions or prompts them to write task descriptions, to me, that's a huge win, because I know this is such a hard concept for people to wrap their minds around, but I tell people when they're setting up a project in Asana, I always say, you know, I know that you need this to work for you today, and you need to, you know, meet this deliverable and this milestone that's in a month. But when you are setting up a project, I want you to think about the person 3 years from now who's coming back to look at this project because they're working on a similar campaign and they want to duplicate it or turn it into a template. And then they see your empty description with no information, and it is no help at all. And so that's really, even if it's just a prompt of, hey, you need to fill this out, or it generates what it should be as a rough description, to me, that's even better than just blanks, right? I just don't like seeing those blanks.
I love that. Yeah, thank you. Just keeping it really simple. Let's back out of the AI, you know, corner for just a little bit. Let's talk about the work that we've done and how we've seen Asana really transform businesses. Kerry, I'm going to stick with you, and then Nadia, I'll give you a chance to answer. But, you know, as it relates to Asana, you know, a lot of the times I'll get on a call with a customer, or, you know, a prospective customer, and, you know, we'll say, hey, just kind of show me around, show me, what does your Asana look like? And it's almost like they're a little bit embarrassed. They don't want to show anything. You know, it's like someone's coming to your house and you want to clean up everything before they get there so that they don't think you live the way that you do. And so it's always like, no, just, it's okay, just open it up. So we've all seen different Asanas, you know, and what they can look like. Can Kerry, you start. Tell us just about an experience where you've come in and, you know, helped a business or a team to transform how they use Asana. I would love to understand what the current problem was and what we walked them through and what the future state ended up looking like.
I worked with a company. This was one where they had about maybe 70 of 120 employees on Asana, and they started using it even more with remote work. And they were very worried that it was getting too messy. And so they were kind of showing me their house, saying, we have so many projects, we probably don't even set up projects the right way. And I was actually really impressed with how much they were using the tool, how familiar they were with custom fields and getting to know rules. You know, they didn't know about task types, but there was still a lot. And some people referenced videos they watched to try to train themselves. But, you know, one thing that I did find, and, you know, this maybe sounds like a plug later for the power of custom fields section, but this company just spent so much time writing these really long task names as if there was no other place to put any information whatsoever. And, you know, I got them to a place of constantly asking the question, does it custom field? Right? As you start writing, is this something, could it become a custom field? Could we take this out of the task title? And I realized that they were really using those titles as their organization method, right? We'll use the same, start name of every task, and that's how we'll know that it's part of this community program. But we'll also start it with CP because that's what community program is. And I wanted to get them to a place of, is this right? The way we have these projects set up, should we be leveraging portfolios for you to bring your community programs together? Should we have different teams for community programs? And that's why when I work with clients, the first thing I want to figure out is, what's your hierarchy, right? And what should your hierarchy be? What does portfolios mean at this company, and projects and tasks and subtasks? Again, kind of going back to my original point, you really have to lock on that before you can do a setup.
Yeah, absolutely. Nadia, same question. What are some of those transformations that you've seen applied to some the client work and projects? What did the current state look like, and what did the future outcome look like?
Yeah, I think a lot of what I see when we come onto projects is like a lot of the work is siloed, right? So a lot of teams will say, okay, hey, we have this project and this project needs to talk to multiple projects and we need it to talk to multiple people across multiple teams, but we don't know really how to do that. So we took on a really big project one time. They had a weekly leadership agenda, right? So the leaders would go into this weekly leadership and they would write tasks for leadership stuff, but then they would also write tasks for different departments, right? Whether it was for accounting, finance, what have you. And, after kind of talking to them and figuring it out, they were doing everything so manually, right? They would create the task, they would manually move it to the section of the team. They would then manually multi-home it and do all of these things. And, when we came in and figured out, okay, well, how does this work, right? Like when you put a task on this, weekly leadership board, does it immediately need to go to that other project? Does it need to be validated? Like, what's the process? And to Kerry's point, it is very important to learn how to use custom fields effectively, because what we ended up doing for this client was we took their siloed projects and we made them a really light CRM. So essentially all tasks would come into their main project. They would review it. And then we created them a little custom field that was like, once they approved it, it would then go to the correct project team that it needed to go to. So everything would sit there. Leaders would be able to see it. But until they wanted the actual teams to see it, nothing would happen unless they hit approved. And I see that a lot when it comes down to like stakeholders communicating and then trying to trickle things down to their teams. You see a lot of them, okay, well, let's keep it in one project because we don't want everybody to know. But in actuality, you're spending more time trying to get it to them than streamlining a process to make it easier for themselves. So
I love that. Thank you so much. And Bastien, I'm going to come to you just to hear your thoughts on kind of the same thing. And Nadia, I love the light CRM approach. Like I love the idea of having a central place and then having it, branch out in a methodical way. So thanks for sharing that. Bastien, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so when we start working with a client, I always ask the same question. What was the tipping point that made you choose Asana? Why did you want to go away from the way you were working to a tool? And that person gave me an amazing answer. She said, I was onboarding someone in my team and I was ashamed of the way we were working. And that was really powerful. She was ashamed of the Excel files they had and all the process they had. It was just crazy difficult. And I think onboarding and offboarding is something that is very powerful when you use Asana, because when you onboard someone, if you have all of those project templates ready, you can have someone start on day one and already have an impact. The same thing goes when you offboard someone. When someone leaves the company, you can assign tasks to different people. That's okay. It's easy to do. Without Asana, it's going to be a mess. People leave with the knowledge they have in their head. So I think Asana can really help in that area as well.
You're touching on the feelings now, right? The real core.
She was
of why
ashamed.
Yeah.
It was shameful. She showed me.
It's important, right? Like people have real feelings. They're drawn to tools or looking for solutions for a specific reason. And we don't dig deep enough to really understand what that is. So yeah, thanks for sharing that little insight. Joshua, what are your thoughts here? I know you probably have something to share.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because like each of you have touched on a different problem, but I think the problem underneath the problem is no one has ever taught how to work. No one has ever taught, here's a process, here's a workflow. It's like, here's your job, figure it out. And if you're lucky, you work in an environment where they've put some thought into this. But I would say from my own experience, and I used to do productivity consulting as well, almost no one walks into an environment where everything is set up for them to be successful. And so when we're talking about implementing tools like Asana, developing how to use the different features and integrate them together, integrating with other tools, this is net new territory for virtually everybody, because no one goes to a class on here's how to work 101. It's more like thrown into the world of work and good luck, figure it out. So if you are just getting started with Asana or a tool like it, or if you are more advanced and are looking for ways to build out your workflows and your automations even more, know that you're kind of branching into the world of new territory, because this is not something that most people will ever even bother to do. And so you're really ahead of the game if you and your organization are taking the time to think about, how do we work now? How can we make it better? And oh, let's take steps to actually do that. So, I mean, kudos to all of you who are panelists here, and extra kudos to all of you who are doing the work of making this happen in your orgs, because frankly, it's not easy. If it were easy, everyone would have figured this out already.
Absolutely. That's going to be the first quote I think I'll share on social media. Big picture of Joshua, and no one has ever taught us how to work. So powerful, that statement. And you're right. I remember, and I actually talk about this in my session later today around strategic planning. But when I was a manager working, in corporate long time ago, one of the questions at review time from my staff, they'd have to pull out a card and, they'd have to identify it was a win, something I was doing well, or a rock, something that I was failing at. And one of the things that would often come up, and we would just have discussion around it, was I have all the tools I need to do my job well, right? And the tool can be the tool, like the ones we're talking about. It can be the care and the mentorship and, the defined ways of working, those standards that we're supposed to create, right? Because we expect people just to come in, and because, they have a certain title, or they demand a certain amount of, money, from us, right? That, they just know what to do. And we feel that because we've maybe told them once, right, and they've read the job description and they have access to the rest of the team, that they should just know how to do this. Like, they know how they do it, right? But they don't know how we do things around here. So super important. And thanks for sharing that. Just want to pause here for a second. Tasvi, are there any questions coming in from the attendees that maybe we can go to? Anything in the Q&A so far? Let's take a quick look. Oh, I think I got one. Where do you suggest to learn how to use My Tasks properly? Bastien, I'm going to go to you for that. You love talking about My Tasks.
I think that's the most underused feature in Asana. And I often have nightmare about one client. They told me, I don't use My Task, I don't use Inbox, I just read emails that Asana send me and I do whatever it says. It's just bad. Don't do that. You have to learn how to use My Task. And basically, My Task is about triaging what comes in and placing those tasks in the right sections. And the goal is to be able to say what you have to work on next. What's the next priority? And that list of priorities should be fairly small, like 5 to 10 items maximum. The rest should be organized properly in other sections. If you don't do this, even if you think you are on top of things, I can bet that you're not on top of things. You are completely lost.
That's so good. I would absolutely agree, right? And like, I spend time, I think a few times a year at least, I go back over my tasks and I look at it and I really think, like, is this working for me? There are different automations and, different sections. Is this working for me? Because we change how we work. So I think it's about, being flexible as well and trying some things and then, moving on from there.
Yeah, I started with today upcoming later as a section. Then I moved on to top priority, important secondary, and I changed again. Now I have must, should, and could. And I think I'm going to keep on changing those sections and systems just to be more efficient and have some clarity all the way.
Must, should, and could. I love that. All right.
With emojis everywhere, obviously.
Can you For people that don't know, if you haven't seen any of Bastien's videos on YouTube or you don't follow along with him in the Asana forum, Bastien loves emojis. I remember seeing a screenshot of his Asana one time and I thought, why are all these emojis here? They were driving me insane because I'm this simple and clean.
It's
I
beautiful.
up until that point, I thought Bastien was a minimalist. And so I thought, why is all this extra need to be here? But
Yeah, it's
to
actually
each
not
his
extra
own.
because the emoji gives you an information on, in our case, it's an information on the task type. So for example, we use tasks for meetings, invoices, quotes, and other stuff. A meeting task has a calendar emoji. A quote task has a small dollar emoji. So by using the right emoji, you can actually convey some information and you can quickly scan through a list of tasks knowing exactly what they are. So you can still be a minimalist, but use emojis in the right way.
I love that. Defending
Makes it
the
more fun
emoji.
as well.
Of course. Joshua, what's Asana's stance on emojis and their strategy?
We're fully in support of emojis. I mean, it's funny. It's like any organization. There are some people who are super into emojis. Some people use them in their Asana itself. For those of you who don't know me, I am a burger aficionado, and I only ever use one emoji for any given circumstance. So any Slack reaction, when I create a task in Asana and it needs a little bit of extra zhuzh, I just use the burger emoji. So everyone identifies me with the burger emoji at Asana. Generally speaking, yeah, Bastien knows. So like I think we use emojis how anyone else would, and I think we recognize especially that emoji is a way to express yourself, and because we work with real humans and you do too, like having ways to express yourself in the product is really important. I mean, that's why we have things like the celebration creatures and all the different ways that you can react in Asana, because we want to infuse that sense of fun and delight into something that could, frankly, if we weren't intentional about it, could be really boring. And personally, like I spend all my time at work. I'm here all day at work. I like those moments of surprise and delight for myself. And I think all of us here at Asana do too. And offering those to our customers is really important to us.
Agreed. Yeah, I love those celebration graphics as well, or characters as well, especially the updates we just made. If you're in the chat right now, just would love for you to comment what your favorite character is. I think mine has got to be the unicorn flying across the screen. So thanks for that. And
if I can just react to this, I think it's very funny to see that Asana's philosophy at the moment is colliding sometimes with the enterprise world, because we've had clients basically ask us to disable celebration creatures within the entire Asana account because some companies don't find this useful or funny or professional enough. So I would love for Asana to keep doing this, even though some big companies do not agree.
Did you also turn off the extra delights, tab B, tab V in their space?
Yeah, they can do that themselves, so it's okay.
What a shame if you did.
Yeah, when you show that to French people, they're like, "That's weird," and I tell them, "Yeah, it's an American thing. Don't worry about it."
But like Joshua said, right, we're all human beings. We're all expressing ourselves. So I think it's important. And Joshua, I'm so glad you brought up the hamburger thing, because I remember inside of the Asana Together community, there was a message that came out, or some kind of conversation that was happening in Slack, and you used the hamburger emoji, and someone said, "Hamburger? What's that for?" This was years ago, and you're like, "Why not? It's just a hamburger."
Why not?
Right?
Yeah, I don't think everything has to be a big deal. And I definitely have heard from some customers that like they don't want the celebration creatures. They don't want the extra delight. I mean, that's the prerogative of each organization. Personally, I would probably not want to work at an organization that's that anti-fun, but everyone gets to make their own choices, and every organization needs to do what's right for them.
Perfect. As we're winding down to the end of the session here, just love to touch on this. Maybe we can all share just one and the experience and context around it. But I'd love to know, what are some of the most common questions or concerns from your different clients when you introduce Asana to them, right? So they're looking at it, maybe it's brand new, or they're switching from another tool, or we're just trying to get them to rethink how they use it. What are those common questions? Maybe just pick one each, and then how do you address that question? Kerry, we'll start with you.
Oh, we can't hear
Oh,
you.
we can't hear you, Kerry, for some reason. Nadia, let's start with you. Not sure what happened with Kerry's mic. Nadia, over to you.
Yeah. I would say one of the biggest questions that I get, especially when I'm starting with like a new client that is interested in Asana, is like, will it work? And I see that a lot all the time because a lot of people are scared to move from one platform to another, or maybe they've been doing everything on like an Excel sheet or a Word document or whatever. And I think the biggest thing is what I've learned is kind of as I do consulting with them, it's like building it with them. I've started to see people get more at ease, right? I think people get really nervous when they like hand someone all their proprietary information and they're like, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to track it? So that would be the biggest thing that I see with clients is just, how will this information that I give you work in this platform? Like I've seen videos and I know it can do it, but it's getting them from point A to point Z. And then letting them know like, okay, this is what I can do. This is how this works, etc. And just being able to let them know that they have to wait to see the full picture is what I've noticed a lot.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. Kerry, how's it working? Let's see.
Is it working?
Oh, there it is. It's back.
Oh,
Yes.
great. I didn't solve the question in that time that I was off the mic. I think that the question that comes to me a lot actually is figuring out, they get so excited about having forms, right? And a way to kind of streamline how people work. Say, you're going to fill out this form, and that's going to be our brief, and it's going to be the end all be all. And we'll tie it to custom fields. And then what happens is then they create like 17 forms for all different things. And then people get overwhelmed that there's too many forms and they don't know where to find the forms. And then they come back to, should we just have this one mega form and that's the way in? And so kind of to consolidate, I think that the biggest question I work on with clients is, what is your way in to Asana, right? Where do you begin? And so I think going to Bastien's point, I tell a lot of people, you should be starting your day in my tasks, no matter what, right? That's gonna give you your roadmap for the day. But it's fun to kind of find creative solutions to what's your starting point, right? Kind of going to Nadia's point too, your A to Z. Where is A? And that could be different based on the project, the team, the person, etc.
Love that. Thanks, Kerry. Bastien, over to you. Maybe we'll just ask for just closing remarks. Just, if you can leave the audience with, a tidbit, something actionable that they can put into place today, what would that be?
Use My Task. Go into My Task, clean everything up, empty your inbox, start from scratch today. You're going to be so much better by doing this. So the inbox actually has a 3-dot menu with an archive all button. Click that button and starting today, try to reach inbox 0 every day. Do the same thing with email and keep your My Task clean. It's going to be a game changer.
I love that. Joshua,
Marky,
over to you.
Marky, how many emails do you have in your inbox?
Emails?
Yeah.
Right
including
now,
unread emails. Yeah.
I maybe have 15.
Nice. I have 10.
I keep it very clean. I can't stand things in my inbox. And there's only 15 in there because I've ignored everything from like 2 p.m. onward yesterday to prepare for this. So otherwise they would have been cleared out of there. Joshua, over to you. Just final thoughts, tidbits, closing remarks from, the Asana representative. What would you leave the attendees with today?
I am the voice of Asana.
Yes.
So I think generally speaking, like Asana is here to help you. Don't stress too much about it. I think there's lots of ways to use it in ways that can be helpful for you and for your team, but it does take the time that you need to put into it to think about your process, think about how you work in order for it to serve you best. So listening to experts like Marquis and everyone who's here on the panel, get the tips that resonate with you and your team. Spend a little bit of time talking with your team about, hey, we have this tool. How are we going to use it together? Is really critical to making sure that everyone is set up to be successful. And then finally, join the Asana community where there's lots of other people who are struggling with the same challenges that you might be facing and have already found solutions to them. You can find out all about it at asana.com/community. Shameless plug alert.
That's all. It's all good. It's over here today to share and learn. Thanks so much. And for me, yeah, I got lots of takeaways here. Carrie, something that you said that popped into my head was that there's a custom field for that, right? There's always, a way that you can use the tools. And then, no one has ever taught us how to work, use my tasks. And most importantly was to keep it simple. And so we've got about 3 minutes here. We do have one question that I think we can answer quickly here is it possible to set capacity for task due dates based off estimated time and actual time? We got 3 minutes. Putting me on the spot here. Task due dates. Well, I think what I'm seeing here is that when it comes to capacity, I mean, we need due dates, and we need an effort. So we're measuring by estimated time and actual time. I'm not sure I have enough time to answer this. Bastien, any thoughts on this question here?
I knew you were going to give it to me. I think one of the answer is the workload feature with the ability to see the capacity that people have and how that capacity is being used every week. You can also use the regular time tracking, and with the new formula custom field, you can also compute how many time is left on a task. So I think if you put all of this together, you might find the right answer to this specific problem.
I love that. I'd also throw in there like the universal reporting feature, right? To look at the like projects and pull an estimated time between a certain time frame as well. That could be when the task is due or when it was completed. But yeah, I think that's the best we can do in the time we have left.
Yeah, and just to finish on this one, every time you talk about capacity, you have to be careful about one thing. It only makes sense if you track almost everything. If you don't track everything in Asana, there's just no point in tracking capacity because you're going to end up with a lot of empty space. So people get excited about this, but at the same time, they don't have the willingness to go all the way and track everything. So you really have to decide before going down that path.
Perfect. Really well said. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for attending and being here. So glad we could do this all together today. We've got lots more for you as the day goes on. So I want to thank my guests for being here. Bastien, Joshua, Kerry, Nadia. Notice how I didn't do last names there. Thank you so much for your time and sharing today. This was incredible. And for our attendees, we've got lots more today. So right after this, we're going to end this session. You can go into the lounge. You'll see virtual tables there. Hop onto a virtual table, connect with somebody else, take a bathroom break, get some food, whatever, and be back here in an hour. I'm going to be kicking off our first session where I'm going to be talking about strategic planning and goal setting within Asana. So come right back here. We got lots more for you today. And thank you all for your energy and your questions. We'll see you soon.